Everyone, tuning into today's video, we're going to have a look at the CFS and Beige Client Centre models today for the coming month to see what they're showing. I haven't had a look at Beige Client Centre for a little while, so I thought we'd check that out and see what that's showing. Taking us up into June, actually, with that. We're also going to have a look at weather for the shorter time frame, over the next week to 10 days, from GFS and the ECWF. And I've got a little bit more on the El Nino that I did a video about on Sunday. Have a little bit more on the SOI, and we'll start off with that in a moment. But before we go on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all the pages at gasservice.com. You could have a browse through the widget and click through the articles if there's any articles that you're interested in. You have to go for read those articles, because you're going from gas service to where an article is. We get a review on what you do. Fancy much to do that. There's also video ads on those pages. They open out with the content and then they close back up again when you've watched them. So thanks very much for doing that. These things are paying for website, really. Allow me to sit here and talk to you via Gav's Weather Vids. Now, I did the video on Sunday looking at the potential of an El Nino event. I think we are on our way to an El Nino event. I was looking at how strong that El Nino could get in video on Sunday. We had a look at the SOI, which is the Southern Oscillation Index, and we've been getting some very negative numbers in the Southern Oscillation Index over the past few days. And I sort of speculated about whether that was the most negative on record. Actually, it's nowhere near, and we'll have a look at that right now. So here is the latest numbers from the SOI. The SOI is really an index that reflects the state of the atmosphere in the southern part of the Pacific. It's measuring the pressures between Darwin and Tahiti in the Southern Ocean. And when the SOI goes very negative, it's telling us that the atmosphere is reflecting an El Nino state, the atmosphere between Darwin in Australia and Tahiti. So when we go negative with the SOI, it's sort of allowing the atmosphere to couple up with the ocean, and the El Nino is mainly an oceanic phenomenon, warm water rising to the surface of the Pacific Ocean along the equator. And of course, when you get the atmosphere and the oceans coupling up in this way with very negative SOI numbers, then you start to sort of get a feedback mechanism going on. So it just gets stronger and stronger and it begins to feed back on itself. So we've had these very negative numbers in the SOI over the past few days, and the most negative so far was a few days ago, which came out at minus 46.94. And I was sort of speculating on Sunday, but maybe that could be a record. It could be getting close to a record. Actually, it isn't. The record is from 1997. We'll have a look about it in a moment. But this is still going on, and the very latest update shows that it was down to minus 35.4, minus 35.14 yesterday. And these very negative numbers do continue. So all the time we're getting these very negative numbers within the SOI. We can expect the El Nino and the warm waters in the equatorial Pacific to continue to strengthen. Now, the most negative I can find is back in 1997. We had a sort of super Nino in the year of 97-98, and this is the most negative number I can come up with. It's from day 151, which I believe is the 31st of May 1997, and it comes out at minus 85.72. And the day after, day 152, which is the 1st of June 1997, that comes out at minus 77.26. So those are the two lowest numbers I can find. We're a long way short of that, obviously, with the sort of numbers we've seen at the moment. We are very negative with the SOI, don't get me wrong, but we are not close to that record. Mind you, that is a long way below. Those two are a long way below anything else I can find. Generally, the lowest you go down to is around minus 40 or minus 50. So to go down to minus 85.72, I'm not sure whether that is actually a genuine reading or whether there's an error there. But anyway, that is the lowest I can find within the index of the Australian Bureau of Meteorology. You can find the link to these websites on the links page. So worth checking out to see what's going on. Remember, the SOI is only an index that reflects the atmospheric state, just as with the NAO and the Arctic Oscillation, the two indexes that we sort of look at in the northern hemisphere. Just as with those indexes, the Southern Oscillation Index is not a driver of the pattern, it is just reflecting the state of the atmospheric setup. So those negative numbers that you're looking at there, they didn't drive the El Nino. They were just telling us that the atmosphere and the oceans were coupling up to produce what turned out to be a very, very mega El Nino event in 1997. It all culminated in this. This is the sea surface temperature anomaly map from December the 1st, 1997. And of course it's this vibrant red area that we see here, very, very dramatic looking chart over in the equatorial Pacific. That was the El Nino of 97-98, the strongest recorded El Nino on record. Incidentally, we had a very nice tripole in the Atlantic for that winter, so you would look at that and think we'd probably have a cold winter in 97-98. Everything was set up really for a cold winter. Solar activity was relatively low. We had a tripole of the warm, cold, warm bands in the Atlantic. Really things were set up very nicely for a cold winter in 97-98. But because of that very, very intense El Nino that developed, it didn't come off, and actually it was a very mild winter in the end, albeit with a really strange pattern that delivered that mild winter. So that's the kind of thing that can happen when you get very, very negative numbers within the Southern Oscillation Index, when the atmosphere and the oceans really start to couple up. You can get some very strong events. I don't think we'll get a 97-98 event this time. I'll be very, very surprised if we go as intense as that. But it does look as though El Nino is on its way anyway. We'll keep an eye on what the longer range models are forecasting with that when we all update later in the month. Talking of the longer range models, let's have a look at the CFS V2 for the coming month. These are 500 millibar heights. They're broken down into weekly periods. This has been performing very well, this model, for the month ahead anyway. Period. Been performing very well over the past few weeks. So I didn't really rate it that highly, but I'm getting increasingly increasing to the point where I'm rating this quite highly. So just having a look at the coming weekend, it's going to be an unsettled week with low pressure below average heights, as it is on this map, up to the northwest of the country, a ridge down across Iberia, down to the southwest of the country, with jet stream running through the country like that. So it's going to be a relatively unsettled week coming up for the week that we're in. Quite cool at times as well. Now, as we go to the next week period, the 18th to the 24th, we do find high pressure ridging up from the southwest closer to the country. It's not in a tremendous position to be producing warmth because the flow is still going rather like that. So, well, it's quite cool, but it is more settled with that, excuse me, with that one. The above average heights close to the country, so it wouldn't be a bad period really, just probably a bit on the cool side. Going into the next week period, this takes from the 25th of May to the 31st of May, and then the high pressure appears to be pulling back out in the central part of the Atlantic again, so that could be turning more unsettled. And it's still cool, of course, because the jet stream goes like that. So I think that one probably turns more unsettled again through the final week of May. Not a washout by any means. No sign of a really unsettled period coming up, to be honest. Just going to be generally quite changeable and a little bit on the cool side, but nothing too dramatic happening, I don't think, over the next few weeks. And that's sort of indicative of that idea, albeit with the high pressure putting back out into the central part of the Atlantic. And then we finish up on the 1st of June to the 7th of June with a bit of a change taking place there. The high pressure starts to build to the north of the country, so it's becoming centred somewhere around Iceland. It's also tying in with this high pressure up over Scandinavia. We've got low pressure down to the south. The flow with that's probably going sort of easterly. Now that could be turning a bit warmer. It very much depends exactly how the ridge and the low pressure down across Spain interact with one another. It could be quite chilly if the winds are sort of from a northeasterly type direction. If that low pressure is closer to us, though, it could start to drag up some quite warm air, actually, from the south, and potentially thundery as well. So not really sure what's going on there for the first week of June. But it is a bit of a change on the pattern that we have through May anyway. And as I say, just depends how the ridge and the trough interact as to whether we will start to drag up warmer air from the south. But temperature anomalies break down like this. Cooler than average for the coming week, of course, the 11th to 17th, going to be quite a cool week. The week from the 18th to the 24th is when the high pressure is getting closer to us. Still quite cool, but a little bit warmer. And in the south, we may actually go a little bit above average. For the week ending the 25th to the 31st of May, it's when the high pressure pulling back out in the central part of the Atlantic, it goes significantly cooler than average again. And then finally, for that week, the 1st of June to the 7th of June, it's still a bit cooler than average, actually. The high pressure going to the north of the country, wind's probably going into the east. But I reckon if the low pressure down to the southwest is a bit closer, it could start to pull up warmer air from the south. So we would need to keep an eye on that one. Anyway, quite a cool period coming up to the end of May. And I do think, as I've explained in recent videos, that we could be well beyond course for our first cooler than average month for quite a few months. I think it was August 2014. The last cooler than average month that we experienced. Here's the Beijing Climate Centre, 500 bit of our height anomalies broken down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period takes us from the 11th to the 20th. Have low pressure up to the northwest, high pressure down to southwest. So it's very, very much in line with the CFS and the jet stream sort of running through the country. It will be a changeable week on that sort of setup. Going into the next 10-day period, this from the 21st of May to the 30th, this period where the CFS wants to build up the ridge and then pull it back into the Atlantic. The Beijing Climate Centre just basically keeps the pattern the same as it is on the first 10-day period. So the low pressure up to the northwest, the high pressure is down to the south and the southwest, the jet stream more or less running through the country. But that could be a period of change. So remember, with CFS, it's ridging the high pressure in early on in that period, and then it's pulling it back out into the central part of the Atlantic. And because this is a 10-day anomaly, it could be in line with the CFS. It's certainly not a great deviation in any case. And then the final 10-day period, going from the 31st of May through to the 9th of June, this is when the CFS is seeing a bit of a change, and the CFS, the Beijing Climate Centre, is also seeing a bit of a change as well. But what the change on this model is showing is that we get a trough sitting over the top of the country. So that is significantly different to the CFS. The high pressure pulls out off towards Newfoundland, and the jet stream will go like that. So that could potentially be a very cool and unsettled start to June if that one comes off. But it is at odds with what the CFS is showing. And if you take the two models at face value, they are both showing some sort of change through the first week or so of June. So something's probably going on there through the first week of June. But I don't think they've really got a clear view on what's happening at this stage. But some sort of a change seems to be taking place during the first week of June. We'll have to wait for the JMA to update later in the week. We'll do JMA Friday. On Friday, of course, finally having a look at the charts for the coming week to 10 days. And we start off at weekend with high pressure down to the southwest, low pressure to the north. So very much in line with what we're just looking at from the CFS and Beijing Climate Centre, really. Jet stream coming through the country, keeping it quite cool and most unsettled up in the north. Going through to Sunday, it's a very similar pattern, and then the low pressure starts to dig back in across the country again through into the start of next week. This is Monday, the 18th of May. And that takes into a very cool period through to the middle of next week with winds going northerly, so temperatures will be cooler than average, and there'll be showers coming down from the north with this as well. We end up on day 10 with the high pressure still out to west of the country, low pressure to the east, so it remains cool, and at the very least it's changeable. It's not a washout, but it is changeable. There'll be further showers up in the north, but temperatures would be below average. The ECMWF shows very similar conditions. Here we are on Saturday, low pressure to the north, high pressure down southwest, bringing the jet stream through most unsettled in the northwest of the country. That continues into Sunday, then on into Monday, but low pressure sinks down across the country to give us an unsettled start to next week. Probably turns more unsettled in the south early next week compared to what it will be at the weekend. And those conditions then stay with us through the week. Quite cool, and eventually we end up on day 10 for Thursday the 21st of May. Perhaps reaching a bit of high pressure in off the Atlantic, but I'm not sure how long that would last. This low pressure around Iceland would probably take another dive southwards and pull winds back into the north again to give us another sort of northerly shot. That's just coming up to the bank holiday weekend, of course, and we're going to have another look at the bank holiday weekend on the events page. So we did the first update on Sunday evening. We'll be doing another update this evening for the bank holiday weekend, so come back to that if you want to know what may be around the corner for the bank holiday. But in summing it all up, I think May is looking like being our first quarter of an average month for quite a while. I think that does appear to be on course. And quite changeable as well. Signs of some sort of a change taking place in June, the start of June, through that first week. But quite what that change is, I don't think these long-range models have got that sorted out yet. So we'll wait and see what happens on that one. That's all for now. I hope you found the video interesting. Come back to the events page tonight for bank holiday update. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.